what kinds of things did you do when you were young to make you think it's a good idea to be a leader?
Thank you very much for the question. And thank you, Barb, for having me. I appreciate your humility. For those that don't know, as she mentioned, not only did she help write curriculum for JRLA when we started, but she's also a founding member and a donor of the school. So her husband, Simon, and Barb have been amazing for JRLA. We're not where we are without your support. So thank you very much. When I was young, I really felt like I wanted to be a leader when I saw other kids get teased or bullied. I grew up from a poor background in Detroit, a single parent home, and some of the things that kids my age would tease me about were the fact that I had bad skin, I had bad teeth, I had a couple of chipped teeth, and I was really skinny. And so I realized what it was like to get teased. And then I also realized when I saw other people being teased that I didn't like the way it looked. So for me, that was one of the things that made me want to be a leader. The other thing was when you're young, sometimes you don't know if being smart or doing your homework or listening to your parents or listening to the teacher is actually what kids do. And then you start to realize the cool kids are the ones that follow instructions, have discipline, and have respect because those are the young people that are putting themselves in position to be successful. And I knew I wanted to be successful. So those were a couple of things for me, learning and appreciating a level of respect, which also became a leadership trait for me because not only was I a loud talker, but I started to get really tall. So I couldn't really fight, but at least I was tall enough to make people think that I could. And those habits became leadership for me, wanting to see other people be happy, wanting to see other people succeed, but also wanting to give back to my community.
Juliet, next question. How did opening a school help you become a stronger leader?
You guys are in class. You guys are so disciplined. It makes me so happy. Oh man,
We're not
my school is remote learning. Oh man, I'm sorry. I was staring at you guys and wearing your mask. I was just so enthusiastic about watching you guys. Um, Opening a school made me a leader in a lot of different ways. Initially, I did not want the school to be named after me. I wanted the school to be named after somebody that I felt was a hero or an activist or somebody like Martin Luther King that won like a Nobel Peace Prize. And so I started to realize with the founding team, which Barb, as I mentioned, is a member of, along with the board members and people of the community, they said to me, we want you to name the school after you because if you do that, we're going to own it. And that put me in a position of leadership because I had so many people that relied on me to build this school from the ground up in theory with the team. And so being the 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 founder of a school, being the president of the board, but also still keeping my day job. I work for ESPN. I was traveling back and forth to Connecticut to Los Angeles, trying to build and start my career. Fortunately, now I have a few of the jobs that I aspired to have. If you guys are watching NBA on Christmas Day, you'll see me covering those games. I'm fortunate enough to be affiliated with another show that comes on every day, Jalen and Jacoby. And now I'm doing a column and also a podcast for the New York Post. And so having all of those responsibilities, but also loving, caring, and wanting to give back to my hometown put me in a position of leadership that I didn't want to let my city, I didn't want to let my colleagues down. And then another unique thing when I was a little bit younger, college age, early NBA. So for me, that's between 17 and 25. I was young playing basketball, and I had people coming up to me and telling me that they had a nephew or a niece or a son or a daughter that someone in their family just named Jalen. And when I realized that my mother created a name because it's a combination of my biological father, whose name is James, and my uncle Leonard, who took her to the hospital to give birth. So now you see the name, it's normal, but my mother actually created the name, and I'm the first person named Jalen. So early in the NBA, I realized that there were so many people coming up to me telling me that they had a son or a daughter from all different types of backgrounds named Jalen. And so that also put me in a position of leadership because I felt like I didn't want to let myself down clearly, but people have a lot of love and appreciation for you clearly if they're going to name their son or daughter their precious child after you. And so I had to represent for the Jalen's. So those were two things in my life that put me in a position of leadership that I wanted to make sure I was responsible and made good decisions.
Right. Mara?
How do fitness and sports help you as a leader?
How did playing sports help me as a leader? A lot of different ways because in particular in team sports. So if you play tennis or golf, then you don't necessarily have to earn the respect of your teammates because it's an individual sport. So for me, someone that played team sports their entire life, I started to realize that when I was young, and I don't advise this at all because this is not good for your knees. Can you still see and hear me, guys? Because I lost you a little bit. I
Yeah.
see AB, but I don't see you guys. Okay, cool.
We're back.
There we go. So I remember being a young athlete and watching Julius Irving, Magic. Y'all can Google these people, by the way. I know that this is ancient basketball names that I'm naming, but Julius Irving and Magic Johnson and Larry Bird, and watching those players wanting to be like them and telling my friends and family and neighbors that I was going to make it to the NBA one day, but also getting teased about it. So I used to try to set up little obstacle courses and stuff like that for myself to make me feel like I was working harder than everybody else. So, like running up and down stairs, doing box jumps, wearing ankle weights, like doing all of the things that I felt like this is what real ballers do. And so, falling in love with basketball put me in a position to focus on my school because I was always passionate about school. But also, if I really wanted to be good at basketball, I had to take it serious. So I kept a basketball with me at all times. I would dribble to the store, have the basketball with me, bouncing it at all times. And then I started to realize that a few of my friends and teammates had the same passion that I had. And so I was fortunate enough to have two of my fellow high school teammates, Howard Isley and Vashawn Leonard, both play big time college basketball, Minnesota and Boston College, but also make it to the NBA. So that means while I was in eighth grade, ninth grade, I also had other peers that had the same goals and dreams and ended up accomplishing them. And then when I got to college, it was the same thing. I was fortunate enough to be a member of the Fab Five at the University of Michigan. So playing with Ray Jackson and Jimmy King, and then Chris Webber, who went on to be the number one overall pick in the draft, who I was playing basketball with since I was 13, and Jawan Howard as well. I started to realize, and when you noticed in sports is the leader isn't necessarily the best player. Because I knew Chris Webber, for example. I'm looking at him like he's tall, he's talented, he can do all of these things. Like he should be the leader, you know. And then I realized that when you start to gain the respect of everyone around you, and there's a level of trust that you have in everyone else, that sports now made me feel like a leader. So I'm really fortunate that teams that I played on in high school and in college, Indiana Pacers, Toronto Raptors, Chicago Bulls, each of those teams also named me a captain when I was in the NBA. And so I think that's a trait that continued to carry because I was fortunate enough to earn the respect of my coaches and my teammates. And sports gave me that confidence to do so.
Edwin. Here's a tough thing. What advice would you have for our future prime ministers or world leaders?
That's a terrific question. Um, First off, don't press send. If you want to work in politics, if you want to be a prime minister, if you want to be in office in any way, shape, or form, the first thing they're going to do is go back and they're going to pay attention to every text you've ever sent. So just think about this: people that you're sending texts to now, people that you're sending emails to now, things that you may post on your social medias or TikToks or whatever you're posting. Those now can become things that stop you from getting opportunities. We were giving before I started JRLA through the Jalen Rose Charitable Fund. And there were so many young people who were 11th graders, who were 12th graders. We went back and looked at their Facebook. We went back and looked at their Instagram page and things of that nature. And some of the things that they were posting were not aligned with the people that we felt like have earned the opportunity for this scholarship. So that's a duality, that question. Number one, if you're going to be a prime minister or anything in office, you're in a position of leadership. So that means the people around you have to respect your decision making and your discipline. And then the other thing is you can't be the kind of person that says, do as I say, not as I do. And therefore, if you're saying and doing the things that you want the people to vote for you, to appreciate you, to follow you, that type of thing, then you must be making those decisions for yourself, or those people won't respect or appreciate your word.
Now, everybody's created some of their own questions. I see Karina has a question. Go for it, Karina.
How can you be a leader while working in a team?
How can you be a leader while working in the gym?
In a team.
Oh, a few ways. So the one of the things about team sports is the locker room, the bus, the game, you all become one as you grow. And how you earn respect from your teammates comes in different forms. There may be some people that can earn it in the off season. They show up early for workouts. They're always following instructions. They're always continuing to earn the respect of the coaching staff, earn the respect of your teammates. See, leadership, if you notice, I keep using another word, is almost parallel to respect in a lot of ways. Because if you respect someone, then you're willing to listen to them, but you're more willing to follow them. And so in a team dynamic, how you a lot of times earn the respect of your teammates, it's not necessarily being the best player. It's usually the person that always is where he or she is supposed to be, or always does what he or she is supposed to do. So Character is who you are when no one is looking. Character is who you are when no one is looking. Usually the person that's the leader has great character because they're always taking care of business in the classroom, not getting detentions, not getting suspensions, turning in their work on time, showing up at the community events when they need to, doing their chores at home. Like you guys know, you go to your friend's house. I spent the night over my friend's house. I was the junkie friend, by the way. I had to clean up and throw things in the closet before everybody came. Okay. So that organization, that leadership allows others around you to say, I kind of like the way she does things. I kind of like the way he does things. I'll listen to them. And then when they start to listen to you and appreciate you, that puts you in a position of leadership. Now, leadership is also, you can't take for granted. It's a two-way street with leadership because it's something that some people unfortunately abuse. And then when you abuse your leadership and you say that you're one person and then you're not that person, then that makes people mad at you. But if you are that person and you continue to make all of the sacrifices, turn your papers in on time, never's late, like you're doing all of those things, everybody else has to say, I want to be like that. Because when you're young at first, you don't know if being smart is cool. You don't know if you want to sit in front of the class or in back of the class. You don't know if you want your parents to drop you off in front of school or drop you off a half a block away. You don't want your parents to come watch you train. You don't necessarily want them to come to practice. And then all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, I love, appreciate, and need that support. And so these are all of the leadership traits that you will continue to nurture as you start to get older.
Awesome. Anyone else have a question in this group? We may have some questions in other classes. Go ahead, Juliet.
Well, I was just wondering, what do you think pushed you most to actually open the school?
Wow. So I always took academics seriously. The one thing about being an athlete is usually people put your points, rebounds, and assists ahead of anything else you do in life. But you have to be willing to accept that. They're not going to talk about your community service. They're not going to talk about the kind of parent that you are. They're going to say the score of the game was Raptors won by 5 and Jalen scored 28 points. That's just what it's going to be. And so I realized I wanted to be considered more than a jock. So in high school, middle school, elementary school, I took my academics serious on every level. I was an honor roll student in high school. When I went to the University of Michigan, I was a Dean's List student. I left after my junior year, but I wanted a few athletes that, even though I went hardship, actually went back to got their diploma. Academics was always something that I was passionate about, and it was something that I always took serious. And as I got a little bit older, I realized the landscape of the world requires you young people, because you're the leaders of today and the future for tomorrow. It requires you guys to make a big sacrifice, because getting an education from kindergarten to graduating from college, that's a long time. That's many years. You got to go to preschool, elementary, middle school, high school, college. So that could be 22 years of your life. 22 years of your life that you have to make sacrifices. And for me, the 8 most important are the 4 that you're in high school and the 4 that you could be in college. You ask any adult where their dreams went awry, is usually in that 8-year window. And so as somebody that was fortunate enough to make it to the NBA and work in communications and was educated, I was like, how can I give back to my community something that would be a game changer, that every person that comes through the door can benefit. And I was not looking to profit from any way, shape, or form. My sole premise and goal was to give back. And the vehicle of education is always the number one thing, because that's something that no one can take away from you. And because as you guys get older, you're going to realize it's not considered work if it's something that you love to do. And so if you work really hard right now, the sacrifices you make right now is going to put you in position to actually do what you love and do what you want to do. And that's what I wanted to try to influence. So many young people to have the opportunity to get a quality public education, not only while they're in high school, but uniquely also support them while they're in college. So we call it a 9 through 16 model, because we influence you from ninth grade to whenever you graduate from secondary education, as we call it. We encourage all of our scholars to go to college or university, but there are many that go to community college. There are many that go to trade schools, military, police department. And so we're just trying to create well-rounded young people that are functioning members of society. And so that is really how JRLA got birthed.
Any other questions in this group? Anybody writing more questions down? Wow. Thank you, Jalen. That was awesome. I appreciate your time. I know you're a busy guy, and you're a couple things that I think you made us think about a lot in terms of leadership. I know you've taught me the difference between team and family. And that was a big lesson I learned from you, and the Gates Foundation, because they were there at the same time. And you said,
Yes.
you know, a family member is always going to be there. You can't kind of shift them out. But when it's a team member, sometimes they play better on a different team. And
Yes.
I found that was it was very, very, very interesting. So it allows schools to kind of cater to different groups. So for you to create a school about leadership as being the core is incredible, probably for Detroit, and a model for schools around the world. So we do leadership here in grade 4 right through grade 8. So they have a lot of community service projects, but I really appreciate your time today. And thanks to the grade 4s and 5s, they're in another group. We can't mix them because of COVID, but
Right.
yeah, you're streaming all over the place.
Well, a couple of things. Thank you guys very much for having me. And for those that don't know, JRLA is the Jalen Rose Leadership Academy, because I'm really passionate about that as well. So I appreciate you guys taking the time and energy to write questions, to listen to my answers. I look forward to visiting with you guys really soon. And I have to let you guys know, the lady that you're sitting in the room with, Barb, she has a heart of gold, and she's an education expert. I've learned so much from her. You guys are going to learn so much from her. And I'm forever grateful for your support, Barb. Don't hesitate to reach out.
Wow. Well, thank you for your time.
My pleasure. You guys have a good day.
Yes.
Go Raptors!
Go Raptors, yes.
We the North.
We the North.
Yeah. Thanks, Jalen. Okay.